Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever and wherever you happen to be listening to this. Thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja based event and wedding photographer Tabishima Ayede. Now, before I continue, I'd like to apologize for the poor sound quality today. I can't record in my usual spot in the house because, well, of course, we all know the COVID situation, kids are at home. Well, even if Corona weren't on ground, holidays aren't quite over yet. So we're here chilling with the kids at home, and so I can't record in my usual spot. And I've fallen asleep with the baby, or rather, the baby has fallen asleep with me. And I figured rather than waiting for optimal conditions to record, I'll just go right ahead and record. So you might hear the TV in the background, you might hear cars outside because I'm in the room, and you might hear the sound of the fan rustling. So just bear with me for the poor audio quality for today. And don't worry, as soon as I make quite a bit of money, I'm going to have a recording studio in my own home, and hopefully from then on the sound quality on the podcast will be a whole lot better, because some of you audiophiles have gotten in touch to say that sometimes the audio quality leaves a few things to be desired. All right, so today I'm going to make a departure from the case study that we've been going over for the last couple of days, because I had a really interesting sales experience today, and let's put it like that. And I think it's an example of how not to sell, whether you are in the wedding and the event space, because I've seen some wedding professionals do this before. So it seems to be a technique that is gaining some popularity, but in my own opinion, I don't think it's something that we should be doing, especially if we want to be thought of as credible professionals. So earlier in the day, I was out with my wife and the kids were at the bank because she had a few transactions that she had to do that required her going into the bank. So I was in the car with the children, and then this woman comes up alongside the car, and then she waves to the kids, and of course the kids wave back, and she seems real friendly and everything. And so I'm looking at her and I'm trying to decode quickly, where have I seen her before? Have we met? How come she knows the kids? The kids know her. I figured, okay, maybe she's a past teacher or caregiver at the school, something like that. My mind is running in a few dozen directions every second. And so eventually I wind down a bit, and then she apologizes and she says, don't worry, I'm not a beggar. Actually, I'm a teacher. I've developed a game. This is what the game is. This is how it works. It helps children because it helps you teach them about scriptural lessons and memory verses and things like that. Basically, it's a board game. A spirit-filled, should I say, a Christian themed board game. Yeah, let's put it that way. Christian themed board game built around the same sort of premise as Snake and Ladders and Monopoly. So you start off on one end, you roll the dice, you move from here to there. You land in some places, you have to repeat some scripture verses. You land in other places, and then you have to practice certain scenarios like forgiveness and things like that. And it does seem to be, like a nifty idea. And I really hope that for this lady, her game catches on. But I've noticed that I've been approached by lots of people using this technique in the last 1 year. That's back into 2020. Those ones, I went by a store with my wife, and because we had to buy some stuff for the kids, clothes and all. And then one of the sales attendants approached very cheerfully, with that whole long time no see attitude, and both of us are racking our brains and wondering, like, have we met this person before? So yes, he's nice, he's personable and all that. But then it turns out that, we've never met him before. They're just trying to be ultra nice, ultra personable, and basically pretend like, either pretend or approach like they know us, or there's been some previous interaction. And I've noticed that people seem to be doing that a lot, even at bridal fairs. I notice some wedding vendors use that sort of approach. The knowing glance, the high pitch high, and all of that. And I know that people who do that are trying to be pretentious, but here's the deal. Sorry, not pretentious. They're trying to be, what's the word? Personable. Yes, they're trying to be personable and likable. But here's the deal. Since we are involved in sales, we're actively trying to sell stuff all the time, we're in sales mode. We forget that the average person does not like to be sold to. So, in professional sales circles, that is called sales resistance. So, in a sales situation, sales resistance is high because people don't want to be scammed, people don't want to be hustled, people don't want to be hassled. And so, in that situation, people have their guard up. So, it doesn't help when you are in a situation like the bride and the groom who happen to be in the wedding fair, or my wife and I who happen to be at the shop, or when I'm chilling outside the bank. You don't want to be in that situation where, well, first of all, ordinarily you're not expecting a sales pitch, but then somebody comes out of the blue in a manner as if the person already knows you. You should know who this person is. You've had a previous relationship, interaction in the past, something like that. At that point, your mind is really racing. You're trying to figure out, who this person is. Oh, I don't want to offend the person. Have I met them? Have I met them before? So, in the midst of all that confusion, the sales resistance comes crashing down even a whole lot more, and it can be really annoying when you just discover that, oh, this person is just a salesperson who was trying to be smooth and work their way up to a pitch. And I think as professional salespeople, we should not be involved in that kind of behavior. So, yes, we have to sell market, in quote, but if we happen to be walking down the halls in at the wedding fair because we're looking for new people to talk to, we should be nice, yes. We should be personable, yes. And we should be warm and inviting. But this whole scam, and I really do think it's a scam, approaching people like you know them or they should know who you are, is not a very professional way of doing things. And when the person realizes what the ploy is, their guard is going to be up even more. So the funny thing is, if I had run into this lady in a different set of circumstances, was not an expensive board. It's something that I could have bought. I mean, after all, what's the harm? Especially since I'm trying to teach my children about the faith. Anyway, but in that situation, when someone approaches like that, you just become an what's the polite way of putting this? You just become an annoyance, and so I don't think this is something that we should engage in because. You're just going to get people annoyed and angry. It's not the most conducive frame of mind to make a sale. So, if you are a wedding event professional like me who believes in attending wedding fairs and stuff like that, please do not use this tactic. There are other ways of approaching strangers in a warm, friendly, professional manner and initiate the sales conversation rather than showing up with that knowing glance and a nod. I've even seen someone execute that move with a hug. I mean, why should you go and hug a total stranger? Anyway, I think this practice is becoming quite rampant. I've only seen it once or twice in a wedding expo, and I see it all the time out on the mall, like I mentioned today, at the bank, which is even much more disturbing given that right now we have the whole corona thing going on and we're supposed to have social distancing and things like that. So all these ploys that people do to get someone's attention, to get someone's personal space, it's not a good practice. And so if you've engaged in that before, because maybe there's someone who is telling you that this is how sales is done, please desist. Do not engage in that sort of behavior. So, if you're a faithful listener, I'm sure you've already heard episodes in the past where we've spoken about how to be professional in these types of situations when you're walking up to someone cold the first time that you're meeting them and you want to initiate the sales conversation. And if you are just tuning in for the first time, in future episodes, you're going to hear not just my own personal philosophy about these things, but different methodologies that are out there about how you initiate cold interactions with people that you haven't met before. But bottom line, do not pretend that you know this person, and do not give off airs like the person is supposed to know who you are, and all that. So yes, it's nice to be friendly and personable, but in our first interactions, I really think being appropriate, being credible, and being professional should be our first port of call. And then the whole thing about becoming somebody's friend or confidant or whatever in the sales process is going to come afterwards. It's not something that we can front load or build at the beginning. So in the beginning, let's just worry about being appropriate, looking appropriate, dressing appropriate, sounding professional, being professional and courteous, and making sure that we stand out as a credible professional, and everything else will take care of itself. So that is all that I have for you guys today on the podcast. And at the next recording tomorrow, or maybe the day after, I'll return to the case studies with G Power, and we'll continue with looking at questions that we can ask prospective clients and customers, so that we can help them realize the extent of the problem that we solve. Those are the need payoff questions and the implication questions, just so that people realize the value and the gravity of the service that we provide. Because let's face it, nobody's going to hire a wedding photographer if they think all you do is just, clickety clack, press the shutter. You can get someone else to do that. And no one is going to hire you as an event planner if they think all that you do, the full extent of your service, is that you just stand in the middle of halls and then you tell servers and waiters, go to table 6, go to table 5, put a bottle of Star here, send jollof rice to this section of the hall. So the questions that we're going to look at, the need implication, the need payoff questions, and the implication questions will help out with communicating our value, helping our prospective customers understand our value in that regard. So I'll catch you guys at the next recording, and thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. Again, I'm your host, Abuja-based wedding and event photographer Tavishima Ayede. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.